Lakers. Final seconds here in this NBA season. The respect from those two. And that's it. It's over. This historic 2020 NBA championship belongs to the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers conquer the bubble, and banner number 17 will soon hang in the rafters.
We just want our respect. Rob wants his respect. Coach Vogel wants his respect. Our organization wants their respect. Laker Nation wants their respect. And I want my damn respect too.
This is Nothing But That Sports Talk. Welcome to Nothing But That Sports Talk. I'm Rafique Louison alongside a diehard LeBron James fan. We're still celebrating what happened with the Lakers taking out the Miami Heat in the NBA Finals to get LeBron his fourth championship and AD's first. What are your impressions? What went through your mind when you saw what happened?
Well, Rafique, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I got clowned by the boys. I got clowned by Carl because I really didn't think they were gonna come back and win this series after Game 5. You know, it just seemed like such a crazy and bizarre ending, right? Like, Danny Green misses a wide open shot. Morris gets the rebound. He tosses it to AD, turns into a turnover. The whole Twitter world's going mad. Like, you know, LeBron should have took the shot. If I was him, I should have took it. You just get the feeling that, like, Miami was just on such a huge roll of momentum that you would have thought they would have been able to pony it up for Game 6. But, you know, what's in the history books are in the history books at the end of the day. Miami just really looked kind of gassed in Game 6. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't expect it. Saw 19 second chance points from the Lakers. You know, 31% they were hovering for shooting for Miami towards the end of the second half and a little bit in the second quarter and a little bit in the third. You know, it looked really shaky, and the Lakers ended up capitalizing based off of it.
Yeah, exactly. Although I didn't mention this in yesterday's episode, but I was actually willing to see the series go to a Game 7 just for the fun of it. But you know what? The Lakers wanted to end in a hurry. They just breezed through it all, and now Ron got his 4-3.
LeBron James, 4-time NBA champion.
Now, do you consider LeBron James the greatest Laker of all time?
Ooh, greatest Laker. I can't say that. I definitely can't say that. We're talking about a friend. This is in Cleveland at the end of the day. You know, this is a franchise with a lot of hardware, a lot of greats, a lot of Hall of Famers, a lot of championships that have been won. Do I think LeBron has made his case for being one of the most impactful Lakers? I think it's getting there. I think, you know, everything that's happened this season, you know, obviously with the passing of Kobe and Gianna, with going into a bubble and having to win games in one central location, the fact that we saw pretty much everyone doubt the Lakers throughout the whole entire season, where nobody even pegged them, and you know, with the beat writers in sports, nobody thought that they'd even be at this point. I think LeBron really carved his name out in Lakers legacy in that regard. Do I think he's the greatest? Not yet. Not yet.
Yeah. But I know you consider him the greatest player of all time because, come on, this man's been through 11 finals, 4 and 6.
Let me tell you something, Raph. Let me tell you something, man. It's not every day when you get to sit down and have a player that you enjoy watching, and because we all have favorite players, right? Like when I don't mention LeBron, Damian Lillard's my guy, right? Like, he's my favorite player when LeBron James is not in that conversation. And I've got to see some pretty cool things from Dame, like game winners in the playoffs, menacing game winners at that, him sounding off in the bubble this season. You know, I got to see some very memorable things. But once you see your favorite player, the guy that you've been watching for so long, do things and put himself in the names of Michael Jordan and all these other greats that we have in the NBA, that's why, man, like, this is our generation's, like, athlete. It's such an incredible feat to be able to see him do this night in, night out at age 36. You know what I'm saying? Like, who's doing that?
Nobody. And let me tell you something. The NBA Finals is where legends are made. Anthony Davis made himself into a legend. Even before the game-winning shot he pulled off against the Denver Nuggets in Game 2. he made himself a legend throughout this entire series.
That's right.
And LeBron James, are the dudes Shaq and Kobe. Well, they're not as good as Shaq and Kobe just yet. You can't get into that conversation until they get a three-peat, but you know what? They're on their way. They tied the Celtics for the most championships, courtesy of LeBron James. And when they say the Lakers for the most championships, who do you think is going to be the reason they do that? It's LeBron James.
At the end of the day, I mean, you know, you saw their relationship blossom for the last couple of years, all-star game appearances, dapping each other up, you know, building that extended friendship. AD with Clutch Sports, 1 year removed from New Orleans, and now he's an NBA champion.
Yeah, that speaks for itself, and he's not the only one getting his first championship. Deion Waiters got a ring. Alex Caruso got a ring. Like, I could go on and on and on about
Dwight Howard.
Yeah, Dwight Howard gets a ring. I could go on and on and on about how the Lakers being in the finals make NBA legends, or at least one of the greatest Lakers of all time.
Yeah, yeah. And I also want to say too, shout out to Jeannie Buss. She's the first female
woman to lead the Lakers to a championship as an owner.
Yes, yes, major shout.
The Women in Sports hashtag is just so big. Like,
yeah.
That's just another example of how you can't sleep on women in the sports field. You really can't.
Absolutely.
Like, I can get Ari and Christina in a future episode with you to tell you how important we need to acknowledge the women that are in the sports broadcasting field right now. I really can't. I mean, come on, between Ari and being in Bleacher Report, they both covered the WNBA Finals in 2019. Like
major.
That's all you need to know.
That's all I need. That's major right there.
Because, yeah, they were on the Zoom calls with me when I was covering the WNBA, and you see the interviews I pulled off.
Yeah, yeah, man. I'm telling you, the brand is strong in your arms, man.
Yeah.
Very strong in your arms.
But where do you rank this championship for LeBron James between first through fourth?
Man, I still think 2016 is the apex. I still think 2016 is number one. For obvious reasons, right? Like down 3-1, first player to lead both teams in every statistical category. Just the feat that it took, like him and Kyrie dropping 40 apiece. You know, like you can't write a better story than that. The block. I think that, and then the fact that he won for Cleveland too. I think, you know, Carl and I were talking about it. Had he stayed in Miami, I think it would have always been a scarlet letter on his back that he would have never won for Cleveland. And I don't think his legacy, which is even ridiculous in of itself, but you know what? If we wanted to give the haters something to talk about, that would have been one. So I think 2016 probably would have been, I think it's number one. I think this championship run might be number two. Don't get me wrong, I hate to make it sound like it's hindsight with the Miami years, especially with 2013, because that was one of the best 7-game series for any sport, any championship round sport. That was it. Like, you put that in the conversation for one of the best. And, you know, to see LeBron cap that off the way that he did, it's hard to kind of say that that's like number two compared to this. Just in terms of he's 36, he's been cited as being washed up, you know, throughout the, like, you know, we joked about this all the time. Everybody said that he was done and, you know, he wasn't going to make it this far. This was going to be the Clippers run, you know, all the talk. But I'm going to have to say 2020 is the top, is number two, then 2013, number three. And then 2012, you know, no shade of the other ones. I just think as he kept playing, the stakes were higher, and he did what he had to do.
Well, for me, I would have to say 2020 championship win was the best, because you're doing it in Brian. It's not, and you're doing it in Orlando, Florida. It is basically 2009 championship run for the Lakers, but amplified. You defeat the Rockets and the Denver Nuggets, and the championship is crowned in Orlando, Florida. I mean, granted, the Magic are not the one in the finals that you defeated, but you defeated a Florida area sports team to win the championship in the state of Florida. It's really amplified.
Good point. Yeah. All right. I can't be mad at that. I definitely can't be mad at that. I think between 2016, 2020, and 2013, there's cases for even 2012 a little bit. You know, like they're coming off the lockout year. Bosch gets hurt in the series against Indiana, and the writing was quote unquote on the wall, and like his legacy was on the line. And then he went up against the Celtics, and his legacy was on the line, and he smoked them. So I honestly wouldn't be mad if anybody ranked any of them number 1 or 2.
Yeah, and number 2, I definitely have to put the 2013 championship win, because that would not have been possible if it weren't for Ray Allen's game-winning shot. I mean, yeah, I get why you would put the 2016 championship win in the top 2, but because, you know, you came back from 3-1 to win a series in the NBA Finals. That's like the first time it's being done ever in a championship round. Not the first 3 rounds, but a championship round. But, yeah. And
wow, more love for that 16 chip, huh?
Obviously, 2000. Obviously, I'm putting the 2012 championship win number 4, even though it was LeBron James' first. But which NBA Finals did you enjoy watching the most, whether LeBron won or not?
Ooh, that's a good question. Can I do both? Like one, my favorite that he lost and the favorite that he won?
Yes.
Okay. I think my favorite that he lost had to have been the first Golden State Warriors team. You know, I think just thinking back on it, I remember him going to Cleveland, everybody being like, you don't got a super team, you know, like you can't really do this, da-da-da-da. They go up against the Hawks in the conference finals, smoke them, and then they get to Golden State now. Kyrie gets hurt game 1, and he just puts the team on his back. And, I mean, Jimmy Butler learned from him, right? Like, he did everything that he could to at least just keep it 6. And I think that was probably my favorite loss of his, because it just made 2016 that much better. You know, like, don't get me wrong, like, I'm happy he's got his 4th. I'm not a traditional Lakers fan. You know what I'm saying? I'm happy for Lakers fans because I went to high school with a bunch of Lakers fans. And, you know, for them to be able to have LeBron on their team and be able to take the pride in, you know, purple and gold and see him do that, I'm happy for them. But at the end of the day, for me, when he won in 2016, because it was just like everything, man. Like, I remember I was telling Carl, like, yo, they're going to win. And he was looking at me like I was crazy, you know, right? Like, because they were up 3-1. You know, he's like, and I'm like, yo, they're going to win. He's like, what are you talking about? They're not going to win. I'm like, okay. And
it's crazy because I was
on Father's Day. He went on Father's Day. Kyrie hits the shot. You know what I'm saying? It was just such a memory, man. Such a memory.
Yeah, and I remember getting on the phone with you the next day. Because throughout the season, I was the one that gave the Warriors a championship win because they surpassed Michael Jordan's 96 Bulls record in the regular season, which means, yeah, this championship is locked for the Golden State Warriors. There's no way LeBron's going to take them out.
I remember you saying that. And I was like, no, sir.
Rest.
There's not a doubt in my mind.
I even remember saying that when Stephen Curry hit that crazy shot against the Oklahoma City Thunder regular season game and came back from 3-1 to take him out.
I just thought to myself, there's no way LeBron's gonna lose 2 finals back to back.
He did. He did 3 different occasions.
Okay, but we know why he lost the other one back to back against Golden State. We all know why that happened. Which, for the record, I think that we need to let it be known that Golden State roster with Kevin Durant is the best. It's not only the best team basketball's ever seen, it's the best North American sport team ever.
Exactly.
We need to have like a dedicated podcast. They lost 1 game in a championship run in 2017. 1 game. If they didn't lose that game, they would have been the first North American sport team to sweep their way to a championship.
Exactly.
In this climate of the sport,
LeBron James. You have a triple-double in that series. Come on.
Yeah. So we all know why he wasn't gonna win that. And then, you know, Kyrie leaving and, you know, all the hoopla that he created, and it didn't work out for him. But, you know, like I just knew in 2016 he wasn't gonna cough it up. And I also knew with Kyrie wasn't gonna go to another NBA Finals to underperform after being injured.
And you know what? In 2018, we talked about how good the 2018 runner-up team was. like in several podcasts in the past, like from LeBron's game winner in against Indiana to the game winner against Toronto to that epic 7-game series against Jason Tatum in what was his first playoff appearance at the time. So, they only had like one close game in the NBA Finals in 2018, and then they pretty much, they were competitive, but Kevin Durant hit the shot that put him up by 6 in the same spot. We already talked about that in the episodes, like when there was nothing but the people talk, but yeah.
And I mean, I think 2018 was just a testament. I think if there was any time for people to recognize, like, there is no hatred that you can throw to this man and it's valid, that was the year, right? Like, they had no business beating any of those teams with the exception of maybe Toronto. Just off the sheer, like, talent disparity. Like, those guys just can't hang with LeBron when it boils down to it. But with Indiana, I mean, they had the size, they had the jump shooting, they had a roster that seemingly was built to beat Cleveland. And in Boston, you think to yourself, like, the similar deal, right? Like, they had the offensive power in order to win. But at the end of the day, I think that 2018 Eastern Conference run showed just how incredible of an athlete he is and how much the hatred just doesn't add up when it all boils down to it.
Yeah, it really doesn't add up. But what are your impressions about the Miami Heat's NBA Finals run? Because nobody expected them to get this far.
I can't front, when I saw that December game between the Lakers and the Heat, I felt like, you know something, this seems like an NBA Finals matchup. Like, the Heat are competitors from the first man on the roster to the bottom. I mean, you saw Louison, out there on the bench in game 2 trying to get his team together and rallying them. And they were like a completely different team from that point on. I saw you guys chatting it up about the Heat, and I just want to really let it be known, man. Like, that's another franchise that needs more respect too. I think that we were all remiss to not talk a little bit more about just how great of a team that is and how incredible of a talent Jimmy Butler really is. This man had to play through toxicity for the last 7 years of his career, right? Like, plays for Chicago, all these guys get traded. He's playing all these ridiculous minutes under Tom Thibodeau, right? You know what I'm saying? Goes to Minnesota. They're a ridiculous franchise. They're a joke, right? He's out here with the whole practice squad and showing them that they can't hang and they're not good. And then he gets to Philadelphia, and then he even shows how toxic they are, right? by showcasing the fact that those guys don't want to win. That for all the talent that you have in the world, it doesn't mean anything if you don't have that drive, if you don't have that dedication. And Jimmy Butler is the quintessential example of what it means to be dedicated. I really hate that. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm LeBron fan. AD's my guy. I'm happy to see them win. I hate it came at the expense of Jimmy Butler. I really do.
Yeah, but you gotta give credit where credit is due to the Miami Heat. Jimmy Butler has been known to lead teams to deep playoff runs, like he did it back in the days with Chicago Bulls. He got the Minnesota T-Wolves back in the playoffs. And he got Philadelphia to nearly just a late second shot away from the conference finals.
That was a travel. That was a travel as well. Also put that out there.
Travel? I mean,
he traveled. He traveled twice. He traveled to Toronto, back to Philly, back to Toronto. But it's okay. It's still a great shot. Nonetheless, yeah, I mean, Jimmy Butler at the end of the day is a prime example of what happens when you have garbage organizations in the NBA. And there's really no two ways around it. I feel like we've spent too long as reporters and commentators of the sport being nice about it. But garbage is garbage. Minnesota's a garbage franchise, and Philadelphia is right next to them when it comes to that.
But they did add Doc Rivers, another garbage coach. But minus their 08 championship win. Minus their 08 championship win, Doc Rivers has had some garbage teams.
All right, let me put it this way. I don't think Doc Rivers is garbage. I don't think Doc Rivers is garbage whatsoever. And Carl's mentioned this a lot. And
who was coaching the Clippers when they choking against the Denver Nuggets this year?
Dr. Rivers, you are correct. But okay, all right. Let's be serious here. He's not garbage. What Doc Rivers suffers from is a very stubborn case of just not wanting to change his approach to the game, right? Like, you notice that Lou Williams is a liability defensively against a very, very competent offensive team with Denver. You don't keep Lou Williams out there. It's one thing if Lou's hitting, 13 shots in a game and getting you 30 points, but he's coughing up 25. It's a whole nother ball game when you're seeing Lou Williams not getting points and coughing up 30, coughing up 20 on the other end. You need to get him out the game, but he didn't do that. It's a whole nother thing when you're talking about, because Kawhi people don't normally talk about this, but Kawhi, if he has a good game in the postseason, usually you'll see him kind of taper off the next game, right? Like 15, 18, 20-ish points back, like where the game before he was dropping 35. I think you need to talk to him a little bit more about, why don't you set other players up? That didn't happen. Paul George, streaky as it gets, you need to sit him at some point in time. Or like try and work the offense around so that he could get to his mid-range game. Didn't do that either. Zubac is out there getting horsed by Jokic. Didn't do that either. Didn't switch it up. Playing Montrezl Harrell at the 5 against the Joker. He didn't switch that up. He didn't, and that's the problem with Doc Rivers. He's not garbage, but he just goes, and it's a shame because I get it, right? Like, Doc Rivers, black head coach, believes in his team. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I think the problem happens when he just is too headstrong about it and he needs to make an adjustment on the fly. And that roster didn't have the ability to adjust, right? Like, Zubac is the only center that they had. Paul George and Kawhi were their only wing scorers. You can't put Shamit out there and expect them to get 10 points down the line when you need it. You can't expect Pat Bev to get you 10 points down the line when you need it. That team was like a one-trick pony for a head coach that only knows one trick. So then, like, there's no other variation that you can have.
Yeah, I mean, Doc Rivers has been known to, like, readjust his teams, but in the wrong situations.
Right. And they just didn't have enough to make adjustments down the line. And I mean, also, too, I'm sure Carl mentioned this as well. Like, and I've heard him say it on the podcast, like, they just haven't had a season together, right? Like, they, Kawhi getting hurt, Paul George getting hurt, guys kind of like fumbling around, swinging Pepper Lou.
They have a lot of injuries at the beginning of the season before they finally started playing together.
Right.
If they had a full season, no injuries, they would have definitely had a deeper round than what we saw in this year's playoffs in the NBA bubble.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm definitely partaking in the jokes and roasting the Clippers because they deserve it. But with that being said, I do think they're gonna come back strong. I think we can all curb on. I don't think that they're not gonna make the conference finals next year. I might be wrong, but I don't, unless they go up against the Lakers or the Warriors in the second round. I don't see how they don't make it to the conference finals.
Yeah, I really don't either. But you got to give credit where credit is due to the Clippers for getting as far as they did in getting a series win.
Nope. No credit. Nobody
I don't blame you for that
guy.
either. Because the series win, Luka Doncic hit a game winner off them. I don't blame you for that.
Shout out to Luka. Shout out to Luka. Luka the Don. But not shout out to the Clippers. Nope. It would have been one thing, Raph. It would have been one thing.
I don't blame you for that.
Huh?
I don't blame you for saying no shout outs because they did.
No shout outs. No shout outs. No shout outs. None. I don't want to hear nothing. This is the only time I'm going to talk about the Clippers, right? It's one thing if you're excited for the prospect of your team, right? Kind of like Denver, kind of like the Lakers, kind of to some certain extent Brooklyn, right? Like, there's a sense of excitement once you get key personnel in and, obviously like new roster slots with Paul George and Kawhi. It's one thing when you got that. It's one thing when you have a lot of great things on paper, like Lou Will being the quintessential scorer, Montrezl and Lou Will's pick and roll game being immaculate, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George getting 30 for 30 whenever they really want to. It's a whole nother thing when you block LeBron on Christmas Day and joke about it and think like that's an automatic championship. It's a whole nother thing when you get to the bubble and Damian Lillard misses like two free throws that is like an anomaly in Damian Lillard's repertoire, and you're on the sideline joking about it. It's a whole nother thing when you think it's going to be a cakewalk for you to get a championship. That's why it's no shout out for the Clippers whatsoever. These guys are clowns, and that's the Los Angeles Clippers franchise.
That's what I said. I agree with you 100% because come on now, that game between the Clippers and the Blazers, they only won because Damian Lillard couldn't hit free throws. Imagine if D. Lillard made that free throws. Like,
how about this? Why are you even laughing about that? Y'all gotta go play in the playoffs. You making fun of a team that's trying to make it? You guys feel like big men after that?
And then he goes to the Brooklyn Nets, who got split by Toronto. Oh, man.
It's a whole nother thing, Raph. It's a whole nother... I'm on my roast, man. You see the throne, I'm roasting, right? It's a whole nother thing. It's a whole nother thing. When you as Kawhi Leonard go up to the Toronto Raptors franchise and say, you guys don't have what it takes to get back here with me, and I'm going to bounce. And then fast forward a year later, and we see you get eliminated the same round as the Raptors. What are you talking? There's no props. There's nothing. Nobody's talking about the Clippers.
Don't forget about Patrick Beverley's irresponsible behavior when he left the bubble.
Patrick Beverley or Lou Will? You mean Sweet Lemon Pepper Lou, right?
Yeah.
It's a family podcast, Raph. We can't talk about where Lou Will was. But let's just say, right, Sweet Lemon Pepper Lou for those wings costed his team at the end of the day. But remember, this is a family podcast. We can't talk. If you want to find out where Lou Will was, holla at Google. All right, we can't talk about where he was.
Yeah, you're right.
Family fun around here.
Yeah, I was actually gonna make it up and say that he was his chicken wings. I'm not gonna mention what it was, but
okay, yeah.
I didn't even mention that.
Yeah, he's getting wings in undisclosed locations. This is a
family podcast where I've had many broadcasters like Monica McNutt, who codes for MSG 150, Christy Lewis, who goes for sports, Aries, and also this guy Justin Shackle, who's a Yankee digital host. And I've also had guys from Overtime and up-and-coming talents that actually got the jobs of reporting on this podcast. Well, it's not really a podcast anymore. It's actually a social media series, but you get the point. Yeah.
Yeah, we got a rating to uphold, all right? We can't speak on that, but nonetheless, right? Like, just a lot of irresponsible decision making top down. I mean, even from the Clippers roster, like not looking to get a second center, it's just not a good look when you're in a conference going up against Jokic, Gobert, Davis, right? Like
Jamal Murray.
Yeah. I mean, even not getting a backup guard in order to stop Jamal Murray too. Like, I don't know where their heads were at on that. They really thought that they had the roster needed, and there's a lot of more pieces that need to be put in place. But at the end of the day, jokes aside, they're gonna come back.
Yeah, they are.
There's a lesson to be learned from them.
But when you're looking back at this year's playoffs, like, which team do you think is the most disappointing? I mean, you pretty much said it, but which two teams you think are the most disappointing teams in the 2020 NBA playoffs?
The Clippers are one.
Yes.
Is it fair to say the Bucks? Nah, I can't say the Bucks. I don't think the Bucks were I don't think that this was like embarrassing for them, because at the end of the day, like,
injured in the last few games that series.
Well, I mean, they lost that series even before he got hurt. But with that being said, I don't think that that's really embarrassing or like disappointing. I think at the end of the day, Miami's just that real, and Jimmy Butler's that real, and Bam's that real. And I think it also goes to show you the personnel issues with Milwaukee by not re-signing Malcolm Brogdon. I don't think that series is 4-1 if Brogdon's on Milwaukee. I think that's either a 4-2 for Milwaukee or a sweep. No disrespect to Miami, but that's just how real Brogdon is and how much of a contributor he was for that team. They just pretty much coughed up a whole playmaker. But I'd have to say, in terms of being disappointing, I say Oklahoma City, man. I say Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City, but they gave it their all in that series. Although
did they?
They gave it their all. They won 7 games.
They won 7 games. They did. But Houston did not show any. They didn't show you anything special in their 2 rounds. They didn't show you anything that led you to believe that they were going to win. And it's not really.
But James Harden did in Game 7.
with that massive hustle play, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good play. But I don't know. I think, Oklahoma City had the height. I mean, the only problem with OKC is just their offense is so anemic that it's really difficult at times for them to keep up with Houston, who can get streaky whenever they really want to. But I just thought, like, Steven Adams down low would have just been more than enough for them to dispatch the Rockets. But I would say sparingly that was probably the other most disappointing team. But even then, you could throw the Clippers up twice in that category.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because come on, Oklahoma City Thunder, they got as high as they did in the standings and as far as they did in the playoffs doing Game 7 of the first round because they won so many close games throughout the season, even when they came to the bubble.
Yeah,
that's
one of the comeback kings. They
got to where they are. So you got to give across to the Oklahoma City Thunder on the type of season they had before and after the return of the NBA. And yeah, what are your favorite moments from the NBA bubble up until now, with the season concluded?
Favorite moments in the bubble. Let's see. Easily the AD game winner. Yeah, that's definitely one. Just because, as happy as I am for LeBron to like keep carving his name into the history books, it's nice to see Anthony Davis on a winning team. And to just cap it all off with like a game winner in the run is awesome. Damian Lillard on a warpath getting to the 8th seed is so much fun, man. It's so much fun. It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. That's what I love about Dame, man. He raps and he's out here hooping. Like, it's nothing to him.
Including the shot he did hit against the Dallas Mavericks, the half-court shot he hit against Brooklyn. But I didn't mind Brooklyn losing that game. I did not mind. That was
me neither.
Because they were already in the playoffs and David Lillard was really hot and on fire. Like,
yeah. And Brooklyn's in a transition stage, right? They're waiting for Kyrie and KD, and they got Steve Nash as the head coach now, so it's fine. I think they did a good job being as competitive as they could.
Yeah, I didn't really have a problem with them losing to the Toronto Raptors, honestly, because we all knew that was good. That was so expected to happen. I was at least hoping they win that one close game they had in Game 2, but it was a foregone conclusion. Plus, I recall the Nets beating the Raptors twice in those iconic series in 2007 and 2014. So this is excusable. At least we know they're going to be a better team when KD and Kyrie finally play together on the court.
And with Steve Nash, yeah.
And Steve Nash being their head coach. That reminds me, what are your impressions about Steve Nash being the coach?
That's a tough one. I'm torn. I think it's a little strange, and I think it's a little concerning that there seems to be a recurring theme in the league where like black head coaches aren't really getting like a fair shake, right? Like, I don't see why Jacques Vaughn couldn't get that slot at least for a year and roll the dice and see where it goes. I don't know how Tyronn Lue doesn't get that job, especially with having experience coaching against Kevin Durant. Doc Rivers, I mean, yes, like he's been on the errant side of like bad playoff performances, but to not at least get like an interview is kind of weird. Mike Brown, it's just kind of weird that like all these guys just got tossed to the wayside and Steve Nash got the job. But with all that being said, Nash is a very he's a generational talent, and I think for some reason always in my mind I always give point guards like a good thumbs up to start a head coaching job, just because I kind of feel like they see the game differently. Could be wrong about that, but I think if they're gonna roll the dice on Nash, it's cool. I'm still a little worried about what Kyrie had to say about all that. That was really weird for him to make those comments.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, Kyrie, he's gonna express his opinion either way, but let's get back to Steve Nash for a minute. As a point guard, as a player growing up, he's been known for the passing offense, being a pass-first point guard. He might pass that along to the players in the Brooklyn Nets coming into next season.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's I think they did a good job with getting him. Don't get me wrong. Even from my social justice lens put aside, I do think Nash is a talent that could get that team places. I think it's going to be a good look. I think the only concern, though, is for Kyrie. Kyrie's not a playmaker. Kyrie gets his assist here and there through his game, but I think Steve Nash is going to implore him a little bit more. it might go either way. I could see Nash being a little lenient and being like, play a game and do you. But I also could see him trying to keep him engaged from the point guard position, the traditional point guard spot, a little bit more. But thankfully with the Nets, they have playmakers in Kevin Durant and Caris LeVert.
Yeah, I was going to say, Caris LeVert is a playmaker. And don't forget about Spencer Dinwiddie. He could be like a useful X factor. He carried the team when Kyrie Irving was hurt.
But that's assuming that he stays with the team, right?
Yeah, assuming that. And free agency is not expected to last any longer than December 1st, or should I say start any longer than December 1st. But when free agency comes, we'll have a better idea of how the Brooklyn Nets are going to look going into next season. And for once, we don't even know when it's going to start. Like, I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Knox yesterday. Would you rather start the season in late December, January, or February?
Well, I was doing the math. I think February would be the traditional, 4 months?
Of like 4 months in between NBA.
Yeah. Excuse me. I mean, it'd be nice. I mean, hey, basketball is basketball. I'd love to see it whenever I could get it. But, I think given everything that's happened this year, there might be some need to reevaluate and figure out what needs to be done. We still don't know what COVID's going to look like in these next couple of months. So I do think that some consideration needs to be given to that. But I do think February would probably be the most ideal in terms of giving everyone who's played in the bubble some time, everybody who hasn't played in the bubble some time as well.
Yeah, that would be a full year since the teams that didn't make it to the bubble have played an NBA basketball game. A full year.
Yeah.
Not to mention you're going to allow fans. I mean, there are some states that are allowing fans to attend sports games, but only at a limited capacity. Like you saw with college football, you saw with the NFL. There are teams that are allowing fans, and Adam Silver is really working towards that feat.
Yeah, and I don't mean to get on my soapbox for too long. I remember there being like some murmurs about, that's not fair for the teams that were not in playoff contention at all, but I think COVID has really opened our eyes to a lot of things that we do that are antiquated and just like simply like old school. That's the way we've always been doing things. And I hope it's a lesson for franchises that tanking is antiquated and it needs to stop. Like if you go win a game, win a game. That's why you guys were not playing in the bubble. That's why you guys didn't get the privilege of going over there. Because look at all these other, look at Phoenix. Like Phoenix have been a joke for all this time, and they actually took things seriously with Monty Williams being out there, and actually like developing a culture of wanting to win. And that's the reason why they're in the bubble. Portland was not hell-bent on, they don't want a lottery pick. They were like all the way in the lower seedings. They fought their way into the bubble. So I hope like this is a lesson to be learned that tanking is just not the move. It's one thing if you just don't have the talent to compete, that's fine. But if you could win a game, win a game.
And if you can make the playoffs, make the playoffs. If you can make the finals, make the finals, which is exactly what the Miami Heat did. But getting back to the impressions of the Miami Heat, you gotta give your impressions on this kid, Tyler Hero.
Oh yeah. Yeah, man. Shout out to Tyler Hero and shout out to Duncan Robinson. 7 threes out there hitting them,
How, like, with this Miami Heat team, how long will it be before they win another championship?
I told Carl they're going right back. They're going right back. I get that there's, I get this parity in the Eastern Conference. I get that free agency might change some things. Rick Ross is saying that Giannis might go to South Beach. I hope he's right. I'd love to see that. I would not have a problem with that. But I think everything aside, the Heat just don't have anything to lose, right? Like Bam is developing nicely. Hero, Duncan, Kendrick Nunn, like all of these guys are developing. And they have Jimmy Butler and Dragic and Espo. They don't really, I know that it sucked that they lost this. And again, like I said before, I hate it had to be them of all of the guys. I do still feel strongly that they can make a good enough run next year too.
Yeah, if you can get 2 games from LeBron James Lakers, you can definitely be back in the playoffs in some shape or form within the next few years. But it's going to be conflicting because do you want to see Kevin Durant get a title for the Brooklyn Nets, or do you want to see LeBron James win 2 more titles to tie Michael Jordan and his NBA Finals record? Or do you want to see Miami try to win a championship next season? It's just so much that's going to be answered. Or do you want to see the Clippers redeem themselves from that joke of a series against the Denver Nuggets? Oh, yeah. The Denver Nuggets, another impressive team in the NBA playoffs.
Very.
Questions about them come back from 3-1 to win the first 2 rounds.
There's nothing else that needs to be said, man. It's immaculate playoff performances. You know, Denver to me has always been like the epitome of respect, right? Like even back when they had Melo and things weren't working out and they traded him, and still got like all, you know, the King's ransom and like all of these good players with Raymond Felton, Wilson Chandler, Gallinari, you know, still keeping them out there. Then getting Andre Iguodala, then getting JaVale McGee, who was rejuvenated when he was there again. And now to see this Denver Nugget team and Mike Malone, I think it's just really heartwarming to see that as a story, right? Like, this isn't a franchise. They're like the Heat in some respects, where there's just not enough to be said about that team from sports writers. You know, like, I get that they might not have the LeBrons and the Kawhis for names, but at the end of the day, like, these guys hoop. These guys got better.
Yeah, they got better with talent. They got better with good chemistry. They got better with a lot of shooters, and they can show that they can compete with the best in the Western Conference and the best in the East. When you add Nikola Jokic, when you add Jamal Murray, and talk about Jamal Murray, what a series he had against the Utah Jazz.
Oh man, gave it to them, gave it to the Clippers. Nothing else needs to be said about them, man. They laid it all out on the line. I really thought Utah was gonna win that.
Yeah, but obviously this has to be one of the best NBA finals that we ever seen. An emotional NBA finals, considering the Lakers are winning it in honor of Kobe Bryant. Kobe would have loved this type of NBA if he was still alive right now.
Isn't it crazy? All these things that have happened. The last tweet that he has is about LeBron moving the sport forward. I mean, like, yes, you know, the story's there and it's crazy. I think also at the same time, it's just like, I still haven't even gotten a chance to process it. You know, like, to think Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna just passed, like, out of nowhere. Like, you know,
after LeBron surpassed him in the scoring list.
Yeah. Yeah, right? Yeah, the night, the day after, the day right after.
Yeah, man. And he even tweeted congratulating LeBron James on surpassing him in the scoring list. And you know what? Do you see LeBron James scoring the most points all time in the NBA in the next 3 to 4 years before he retires?
Yes. Yep. You can quote me on that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being wrong about that if I am, but I feel very strongly. This guy's not lost a step.
Yeah,
he's playing the best basketball.
1,000 points away from surpassing Will Chamberlain for the most points all time.
How many points?
Around the 4,000s, 3,000s away from surpassing Will Chamberlain all time.
And how many points did he get this season? Say about like 2K maybe, right?
Yeah, definitely 2K. Around that. 2K, 3K. He's making
there's no way he could have he had 3,000 points in one season? Yeah,
you can look it up, but I know it's somewhere around those numbers.
Yeah, we need to get a stat guy on this show. We definitely need to get like somebody just like sitting in the background, like Raph, Marlon, you know, LeBron. He scored about 2,000 points. We need somebody like that. We're gonna get the brand popping so we get a stat guy. But yes, I feel very confident in that. He's played the best basketball I've ever seen since, truth be told, like maybe year 2 Miami, like post up LeBron Miami. I have not seen him play like this before. He got 10 assists. Everybody thought I was crazy when they said he was gonna run point, and I was like, he's gonna lead the league in assists if he runs point. And he's got Anthony Davis. No, what's better than that?
Can't do it any better than LeBron James. Well, that concludes this episode of Nothing But That Sports Talk. I'm Rafique Louison alongside Marlon Louison. I hope to have you back eventually.
Soon come, man. Did you take your crown? Bing.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And to all the big balls out there, we did it for Kobe.
Did it for Kobe. Go out and vote, y'all.
And also, don't forget to vote for election. Yeah. Joe Biden for president.
You already know. You already know.
No, don't do this. Don't do that.
No peace sign?
No peace sign.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.